that it's the Democratic Party, with very little help from the other side, that delivered to the American people the most comprehensive stimulus package in American history, which, by the way, has saved and created millions of jobs in this country. So we need to be clear on November 2nd who we're voting for candidates to stand up for us. We need to be strong, because America's strength is maximized when we get together and work together for the common good, for a strong economy, a world-class education system, for equal opportunity, for justice, for freedom, for our precious civil liberties. So we need to stand firm. We need to vote strong on November 2nd for candidates that stand up for our common good. Most importantly, we need to win. California has always been a leader. It's time for California to reclaim its place as a leader in this country. The people of this state deserve a functional government that provides visionary leadership even in tough times, especially in tough times. That supports the hard work of its tax-paying citizens, and that creates an environment of optimism for our future and for our future children you see running around here. So thank you. You know, winning this election is a moral imperative. It is an immediate imperative. It's a philosophical imperative. Translation, losing is not an option. We have to win. And so thank you so very much for coming out. You're going to hear from some of our great leaders this afternoon. Your presence here is very much appreciated. November 2nd, united we stand. I'm going to have Brian Travis come up and do a brief tribute to our veterans and to our servicemen and women who are around this world fighting for our freedom right now. Brian Travis.
Thank you, Pam. Throughout our nation's history, in fields, skies, and seas around the world, American military personnel have stood tall to oppose the enemies of freedom. Many of these brave servicemen and women gave their lives to defend our liberty and uphold the promise of our democracy. Because of their selfless service and sacrifices, we are blessed to experience peace, prosperity, and independence. Members of our military services have always placed our nation's safety before their own for generations. From the first shots fired at Lexington and Concord to the current conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, brave patriots from all walks of life have taken on great risks to keep us safe, and they have served with honor and distinction. Every day, we should pay homage to the gallant patriots, both past and present, who have fallen in service to our country. The unselfish display of their love of country has been tendered in blood on countless battlefields around the globe. It is the hardest currency of all, one spent, never to be recouped, a debt we can never truly fully repay. To date, more than 5,000 servicemen and women have perished during current contingency operations. We should continuously keep their husbands, wives, children, and parents of our fallen soldiers in our thoughts and prayers. Each of them has suffered greatly from the loss of a loved one, and we should always remain mindful of their sacrifice. As such, it is with an unending appreciation we ensure their mortal contributions will not have been in vain. We must always uphold their ideals, for which may have given their last full measure of devotion, and pray that we always prove worthy of sacrifice. They have inspired and strengthened our nation, going above and beyond the call made. Today, as in the past, our servicemen and women continue to do their duties as part of the greatest military the world has ever known. We, as Americans, are grateful to all those who have put on our nation's uniform, and we will always remember their service, sacrifice for our freedom. We also pray for them and their families and for continued guidance of our country. We would like to ask for all of you to stop what you're doing at this time and silently honor the servicemen and women who have gone before us. It is but a small token of the enormous debt owed to them, a deep and abiding debt we keep the faith and honor, but can never justly compensate. So please take a moment of silence to honor our men and women at this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you Congressman George Miller. Congressman Miller is on the front lines for us in Washington, D.C. He's on the front lines. He is the chairman of the House Education and Labor Committee. On the economy this year, Congressman Miller has continued his key leadership with congressional colleagues to create good jobs, to restore hope and optimism in the state of California and throughout this country. That's who we need to re-elect on November 2nd on health care. He has been absolutely essential this year on health care and helped to pass the historic Affordable Care Act. On education, Congressman Miller has worked hard to make college education more affordable to our students by working in Congress to pass landmark investments in student aid. Historian Jonathan Alter, in his contemporary historic novel, The Promise, President Obama, Year One. If you haven't gotten that book, it's great. But historian Jonathan Alter describes Congressman Miller as a key leader in Congress and, quote, the author of much of what went through the House on domestic policy. After President Obama's historic election, Congressman Miller is quoted in this great book as saying, and this is a quote, "If we have the same old jurisdictional battles, if we do that to Barack Obama, hopefully he'll roll right over us." And his colleagues agreed. That's what I call leadership. That's what I call courage. That's who we need to continue fighting for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman George Miller.
Thank you, Pam, so very much. Thank you. Thank you for organizing this afternoon, and thank you all for coming. Pam's made it very clear that this election is about a very, very clear choice. And the question is whether or not this country is going to rehire a Democratic Congress to work with this incredibly smart, creative, and forceful president to continue to change the direction that this country was going in when they handed it off to him. They handed off an $11 trillion deficit. Wow. Bill Clinton handed off to George Bush a $5 trillion surplus. Wow. They handed off to him the greatest financial collapse since the Great Depression. Right. They handed off to him banks taking unjustified, outrageous subsidies to give the government's money to students and families to go to college. We took that $82 billion under the direction of Barack Obama and recycled that $82 billion on behalf of students, on behalf of families, on behalf of our higher education institutions, so that the Pell Grant is at its highest level ever, and it will stay constant with inflation, so that students have